As stated in the title of this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons that I believe you should try postural restoration techniques if you are someone experiencing chronic pain. Reason number 1, brain versus biomechanics. So, what do I mean when I say this? Imagine you're someone that has friends that have dealt with acute pain problems, or not even acute, scratch that, just pain before in general. And they go to a physiotherapist and they're like, oh yeah, I think this physio is really good. You should try him because you're dealing with some kind of pain, right? Let's say you're dealing with chronic shoulder pain or chronic knee pain. So you go to this physiotherapist and they assess you and they decide that if you have chronic shoulder pain, you need to strengthen your rotator cuff muscles. Maybe if you have knee pain, they decide you need to strengthen your glutes. You try this stuff for a while and it's just not really working for some reason. It won't work for your friends. And this is the point where you have to ask yourself, is your issue a chronic issue or an acute issue? Personally, from experience, I believe that physios are very good at handling acute pain issues, right? So, injury and rehabilitation. You mess up your knee doing something, your shoulder, your lower back, any musculoskeletal joint doing something, they strengthen it and rehabilitate it so that you can get back to normal. Chronic pain is a completely different phenomenon. The hard thing for most people to understand about chronic pain is that sometimes the afflicted area or the area you're experiencing chronic pain in isn't even something dealing with physical tissue damage anymore. What's happening is that the brain has decided, you messed this up once, we're not letting you mess it up again, so we're going to keep sending pain signals down there to make it so that you never mess it up again. We get tight and excited, the nervous system gets jacked up and it decides to have a meltdown and freak out about trying to protect you, right? When sometimes you probably don't want that protection because depending on the person, chronic pain can be completely debilitating, right? So what do we have to do instead of treating it with biomechanics as you might see in more mainstream medical treatment, right? We have to teach an old dog new tricks. We have to convince the brain that you are in left stance and that your pelvis can move dynamically, just as your rib cage you want to move dynamically as well, which is most of what postural restoration is about. It's about breathing and walking. And I think there's a misinterpretation of the techniques that they give as, oh, we're trying to strengthen certain muscles. That's not really what's happening. We're trying to get grounded again and make it so that we can get into left stance and exhale. Those are really the 2 goals of postural restoration, in my opinion. Anyways, hopefully that kind of gives some idea of chronic versus acute pain and why I believe they need to be treated differently, and also a good reason to try postural restoration. Reason number 2, you are an asymmetrical human being. This would be a very easy thing to discuss. I've talked about in my first video. Everyone is asymmetrically designed, and postural restoration is all about trying to take these asymmetries and combat them. I'm going to say combat in quotation marks, because these asymmetries exist no matter what. But they bias us towards getting stuck in patterns, specifically most commonly a left AIC, right BC pattern, that can make our lives living hell. It's not fun dealing with chronic pain, and we need to understand that as asymmetrical human beings, we need to adapt that neurological change that I previously mentioned so that we can get out of chronic pain issues. Okay, very simple, right? Reason number 2, just to recap, asymmetrical humans. Reason number 1 was brain versus biomechanics. Both are heavily related. And reason number 3, and possibly the most important reason for some of the people watching this video, postural restoration is not pseudoscience. Surprise, there is actually science supporting postural restoration. If you go to their website, which I'll link below, you can find peer-reviewed research in the articles section of their website that supports postural restoration as an ethical science to help with chronic pain. One study that I am aware of that's on the site that I think is very well done is one where they have a control group and a treatment group of 18 individuals or so, I believe, and they use pelvic repositioning techniques to try and solve chronic lower back pain. So they're testing hip mobility and shoulder mobility as objective measurements, and then obviously your lower back pain is going to be a subjective measurement based on how someone feels. And they found that with these postural restoration techniques made by the Postural Restoration Institute, that people experienced less chronic lower back pain and improved hip and shoulder mobility, which is a good thing, right? Obviously, this is just one study, and this is kind of a dumbed down way of putting it. I'm going to link that below again, as I said, so you can look at it yourself. But again, postural restoration is not pseudoscience. There is evidence to support it.